A standoff at a home in the Villages leads to an arrest of a Michigan man. Special magistrate approves a 100-acre project near 301. Do you know the difference between an amenity rate freeze and amenity rate cap? A special meeting is being held about that. A resident of the Villages was arrested at a well-known drug house. A Tesla driver was arrested in a roundabout after a crash, but he blames the crash on his fictional girlfriend. Lake Sumter Landing Bridge was closed down for a while because a man was threatening to jump. Finally, Paradise Recreation Center has a schedule of starting the project of tearing it down and building a new. The voting is in on that equipment shed that's going to cost the residents over $1 million. More trouble with children living with parents here in the Villages. How many holes of ones of golf did we get this week? Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. Okay, everybody, let's get started here. Thanks, everybody, for coming to this week's news. I think it's going to be a long one. We got some updates. Let's get these updates done and out of the way. A villager who was attacked at a recreation center has refused to testify against her alleged attacker. The prosecutor's office announced this past week that no information will be filed in the case of 46-year-old Anthony Santaglio, who lives with his elderly grandparents in the Villa Valdosta in the village of Bel Air. Santangelo, who had been facing a felony charge of battery on a person over the age of 65. In the announcement of no information, the prosecutor's office indicated that victims do not wish to prosecute. Marion County Sheriff's deputies were called at about noon on March 31st to First Responders Recreation Center after Santangelo allegedly grabbed a 70-year-old volunteer by her arm. The volunteer who had been grabbed by Santangelo told deputies at the time that she did not want to press charges because Santangelo knew where she lives and she was scared and what he might do. The deputy noted in the arrest report that the volunteer appeared to be in fear. If you're in fear, that's the reason why you should testify against this guy. Otherwise, he has no reason to stop. A visitor to the Villages has been sentenced after fleeing the scene of a 2023 golf cart crash at Spanish Springs. Rita Marie Peck, 60 of Wilmington, North Carolina, was placed on a 3-year probation last month in Lake County Court after pleading no contest to charges of leaving the scene of an accident, driving under the influence, battery on law enforcement officer, and resisting arrest. She will also lose her driver's license for 6 months. However, the judge did allow for her to seek a business proposed only license. I suppose that means be able to drive back and forth to work. I don't know. That's her update. Here's an update on the lady that hit the golf cart and then went home and she was arrested. And this case is going to be ongoing for a while. Here's an update on that accident on the other side, the people in the golf cart that she hit. Here's their update. A villager is facing a long and difficult recovery after being knocked from the golf cart struck by a hit-and-run driver. Roseanne Durio, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry, suffered a traumatic brain injury, 14 broken ribs, a broken clavicle, a broken scapula, punctured lungs requiring chest tubes and drained the blood, and the other extensive internal trauma in the hit-and-run crash, and other extensive internal trauma in the hit-and-run crash that occurred March 31 in the village of Hillsboro. Villager Noreen Neverly, 75, is facing a felony charge of hit-and-run as a result of the crash. She remains free on a $5,000 bond and has asked a judge for reinstatement of her driving privileges, which have been severely restricted due to the pending charge. Meanwhile, Roseanne Durio and her family are enduring a long, painful process of an uncertain recovery. She had been at the wheel of the golf cart that day on Hillsboro Trail when it was struck by the white sport utility vehicle later tracked to Neverly's home, thanks in large part to witnesses and surveillance from the Hillsboro Gate camera. While Rosanna Durio was traumatically injured when she was knocked from the cart, her husband, Leonard, who was a passenger, suffered only scratches. The 77-year-old was rushed to Ocala Regional Medical Center Trauma Center, where she spent 20 days in the hospital. She suffered internal brain bleeding and required 9 staples to the back of her skull. Her husband of 58 years suddenly found himself making the daily drive to Ocala to be with his wife. Now he's the primary caregiver, helping with bathing and other tasks. They met when they were about 13 years old and spent most of their married life in Rhode Island before moving to the Villages. As for me and our family, we have been pushed to our emotional and financial limits. I've driven nearly an hour each way every day to and from the hospital, and a half hour each way every day to and from the rehab facility, bearing the fuel cost, mileage, time, emotional toll. Our adult children have taken time off work, flown in from other states to help with their mother's care. We've missed vacations, holidays, moments we'll never get back. Our lives have changed forever, Leonard Durio said. Nobody told the investigator with the Florida Highway Patrol that she was unaware that she hit a golf cart. She claimed she was hard of hearing and had the music turned up loud in her SUV. Be careful on them golf carts. Be very careful. You could end up getting run over and killed
in Florida's friendliest hometown.
One thing I want to bring up, and I brought this up many times, and I don't think people are taking any of this very serious about your medical care, and not just the doctors. I'm talking about receiving medical care at a highly ranked hospital. We don't have any here. You have the Villages Hospital, and after we did the special report on that hospital with the Medicare expert, that hospital had a very low rating. If you are concerned about things like trauma centers here, which we're big enough, and I don't know why we don't have a trauma center. That's why they go to Ocala. That's the nearest trauma center we have. And if you don't think that's serious, you better think about it, because the number one reason for people having injury or death here is from falls, and we don't have a trauma center. A husband won't be prosecuted in a brawl with his wife at a rental unit in the Villages. It was announced by the prosecutor's office this past month that no information will be filed in the case of 63-year-old Louis Ronald Graff, who had been facing a felony charge of battery. The reason prosecutor's offices gave for not pursuing the case was victim witness issues. The couple had rented a home on Snodgrass Lane in the village of DeSoto, according to a arrest report of Wildwood Police Department. And that's their update. A villager has been ordered to pay restitution after puncturing the tires of a pickup truck owned by a fisherman's father. James Angelo Mariana, 78, had been placed on probation for 1 year and ordered to pay restitution as the result of a plea deal reached this month in Sumter County Court. That'll be his update. He punctured some tires on a person fishing here in the Villages. A man suspected of ripping off renters in the Villages has been sentenced to 90 days in jail on a drug charge. Douglas Karst, 53, of Leesburg, who has a long criminal history, was sentenced this past week in Lake County Court. He was given credit for 43 days already served. He is still facing charges of larceny, burglary, and fraud in connection with a 2023 theft case in the village of Duval. A husband and wife had been renting a home on Hollyberry Place in January 2023 and originally had entered the home by obtaining a key from a lockbox, according to a arrest report from Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The lockbox was known to a cleaning crew and handyman, as well as Remax, who was managing the rental property. The couple went to play golf, with the wife making the decision to leave her purse at the rented home. When the couple returned to their home from golfing, they found that both their key fobs for their Ford Expedition was missing, along with the wife's purse, which contained numerous credit cards and gift cards. There were no signs of forced entry to the home. It was later discovered that the lockbox had been briefly assessed, with the key removed and quickly returned. You know, we've said if you're going to rent your house out and you're going to hire a home management company to do so, do your homework. Here's an update on the controversial equipment shed that they want the residents to pay for out of amenity money. The Amenity Authority Committee has rendered a decision on a $1.26 million bid for a controversial golf maintenance facility. AAC member William Williamson pointed out at Wednesday's AAC meeting at Savannah Center that fellow AAC member Jim Vaccaro was absent, which was important considering Vaccaro has consistently vowed to vote against the facility, arguing that it should not be paid for with residents' amenity money. And I agree with that. If you've been following this story, you guys know why. Williamson made a motion to table a vote on the Mira Mesa facility because of Vaccaro's planned absence. Williamson also said he had numerous questions about the project. It is a very expensive maintenance building, to be truthful, Williamson said. Specifically, he said he was concerned that nearly $500,000 of the project would be spent on a site and road work. He questioned paying to pave a dirt road that is owned by the developer. Assistant District Manager Bruce Brown said deliveries could not be made to the new facility with the current road. When it rains, it becomes a mud pit. Who cares? It's not our property. Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett added that the developer's portion of the roadway was relatively small. Reading this report, I hope you guys can figure out who is in the developer's hip pocket and who is not. AAC member Rich Cole, who serves as the developer's representative, made a motion for the approval of the low bid from Qualis General Contractors, LLC. AAC Don Deacon urged the fellow committee members to slow down and listen to all of Williamson's questions. I don't like the way this is played out, Deacon said. I think we railroaded a motion through. Deacon added that he supported the need for the facility, but said that Williamson was raising legitimate questions. In the end, the vote was 4-1, with Williamson casting the lone dissenting vote. Well, there you go. It doesn't make any difference what residents say or want. It's a done deal. I want you to understand what we just done there. We spent $1.23 million has been approved to build a equipment shed so an outside person that is contracted to mow grass or whatever he's contracted to do with these lawnmowers, and we're paying $1.2 million to put his lawnmower equipment in our shed. Hopefully we get some rent out of this. Well, that's the updates for this week, so let's get on with some more news. Yeah, let's hear more from another village idiot. The SWAT team was called to a home in the Villages where a Michigan man was arrested after a brief standoff. A woman fled a home on Evelynton Loop in the village of Lynn Haven at about 7:30 p.m. Thursday and ran to a neighbor's house, according to an arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The neighbor called 911. When deputies arrived on the scene, the lady was crying heavily and appeared greatly distraught. She was holding a bag of ice against her face. A deputy suspected the woman's jaw was broken or dislocated. The deputy had a difficult time understanding the woman. She said that 46-year-old Daryl Colin Fuson began drinking at about noon of that day. He struck her on the side of the face, causing her to fall back. He also broke her phone when she attempted to call 911. That's against the law, believe that or not, here in Florida. You cannot take somebody's cell phone that's trying to call 911. I don't know if it's a felony or not, but you can't do that. Deputies made multiple attempts to persuade Fuson to come out of the home. He refused. When the lady told deputies Fuson was likely in possession of a couple of firearms, the SWAT team was summoned. SWAT team members entered the home, tasered Fuson, and took him into custody. The teletype from the Farmington Hills, Michigan Police Department indicated there was a no-contact order in place for Fuson and the woman he allegedly attacked in the Villages. The no-contact order was issued after an alleged domestic assault on March 15 in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Fuson was arrested on charges of aggravated battery, resisting arrest, and criminal damage to property. He was booked without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center. Probably getting ready to send him back to Michigan to stand charges. God, I keep thinking about this being a retirement community. Who expects SWAT team to be brought into a retirement community? Good Lord. A villager driving a BMW refused to cooperate in a drunk driving investigation after a traffic stop near Lake Sumter Landing. Randall Merrill Wilson, 66, who lives in the Stillwater Villas, was at the wheel of a white 2020 BMW, a 330i, at about 5 p.m. Wednesday, traveling south on Morse Boulevard, just north of Stillwater Trail, when his vehicle went over the curb and up on the grass, according to the arrest report from Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The erratic driving prompted a deputy to initiate a traffic stop on Stillwater Trail just east of Canal Street. The deputy approached Wilson and could immediately smell the odor of alcoholic beverage coming from his mouth. Wilson was asked to step out of the vehicle, but he complained of a bad hip. The deputy asked Wilson if he would participate in field sobriety exercises, but he would not answer the deputy. Wilson also refused to provide a breath sample. A partially consumed bottle of 99 brand coconut liquor was found in the BMW's center console. A criminal history check revealed that Wilson had refused to submit to a breath test in 2015 in Georgia. He has 4 previous convictions for driving under the influence, one in 1995, then 2010, again in 2012, and once again in 2016. He was arrested on a felony charge of DUI and misdemeanor charge of refusal to submit to a breath test. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on a $10,000 bond. You know, some of these drunks that get arrested over and over and over again, and we don't seem to take that very seriously until somebody has a head-on collision and somebody dies. Maybe what they should start doing with some of these people when they get convicted of stuff like this, you take their driver's privileges away from them, impound the car. Seriously, just impound the car and don't release it back to them until their driving privileges has been reinstored. A suspect has been arrested in the theft of a Stonecresters golf cart at Walmart. The 89-year-old woman's black 2012 club car golf cart was stolen April 20 from the Walmart at Summerfield, according to a rush report from the Marion County Sheriff's Office. The woman's son had driven the golf cart to Walmart, and when he came out, it was gone. The golf cart was recovered April 22 at a home in Summerfield. The homeowner said he paid $800 for the golf cart. He provided information that led to the arrest of a suspect, 40-year-old Shannon Michael Mason, who is homeless. When Manson was initially interviewed by deputies, he attempted to lie about his identity. The West Virginia native, who had had a previous arrest for burglary and vehicle theft, was taken into custody and booked at the Marion County Jail. I assume with no bond. A teenager was arrested after a traffic stop near a popular walking path in the Villages. Gabriel Alexis Olive, 19, of Wildwood, was driving a vehicle at about 8:30 p.m. Wednesday on Buena Vista Boulevard near the Black Lake walking path when it was determined that the owner of the vehicle was wanted on a Marion County warrant, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Olive was traveling alone in a vehicle registered under her name, was taken to the Sumter County Detention Center for booking. She was found to be in possession of a pink electronic smoke device, which had a connected vial. The substance in the vial tested positive to CBD and hemp. I don't know. I thought that was the same thing. Maybe not. She was charged with attempting to smuggle contraband into a detention facility. She was booked at the jail on a $2,000 bond. Gosh, I don't know. What's the answer to all this drug problem? I don't know. A resident of the Villages with 2 drunk driving convictions in Michigan was arrested after he was found passed out in a golf cart. Alexander Gregory Arcabello, 33, who lives with his parents in the village of Dabney, is facing a felony charge of driving under the influence following his arrest this past Saturday, according to the arrest report from the Leesburg Police Department. Why is a 33-year-old living with his parents in a retirement community? Ask yourself that question. A witness said he found Arcabello in the golf cart and said he woke him up. He asked Arcabello if he had been drinking. Arcabello replied with a smile on his face, "Of course." It was the witness who called 911. A officer spotted Arcabello in a golf cart at Elkington Road and Megason Road. The officer woke up Arcabello and asked for identification. Arcabello, who seemed to be confused, handed the officer a medical marijuana card. Now, that's what you got to have. That's what it's called. Like a while ago, I couldn't remember. If you want to do marijuana legally down here in Florida, you got to go to your doctor, get a medical marijuana card. It costs like somewhere between $200 and $400 a year. Then you can go get it legally. But you still can't drive and consume. The golf cart was still switched on with the lights illuminated, the report said. Arcabello refused to participate in field sobriety exercises and would not provide a breath test. The reason everybody does that, and this is a legal reason, is the law says you do not have to provide evidence against yourself. But there's a law that says if you don't do this, then there's a price to pay for that. So it all really boils down to one thing. How good of an attorney do you have? The officer conducted a criminal history check and found that Arcabella had been convicted of drunk driving in 2016 and 2018 in Michigan. Due to the previous DUI convictions, he was arrested on a felony charge. Arcabella was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $5,000 bond. A hit-and-run victim identified a villager as the driver who fled the scene of a crash, leading to his arrest on a drunk driving charge. A man had been driving a Volkswagen Jetta southbound on Megason Road at about 2 p.m. Wednesday when a Toyota Tacoma, traveling in the same direction, struck his driver's door and pushed down his driver's mirror. According to the arrest report from the Wildwood Police Department, the collision caused about $2,000 damage to the Volkswagen Jetta. The driver of the Volkswagen Jetta followed the Toyota Tacoma, trying to get the driver to stop. However, the driver of the Toyota Tacoma, later identified as 52-year-old Aaron Robert Nielsen of the village of Richmond, made a U-turn, got out of his vehicle, and began yelling at the driver of the Volkswagen Jetta, ordering him to stop following him, the report said. Nielsen was pulled over, and the driver of the Volkswagen Jetta was transported to the scene of the traffic stop, where he positively identified Nielsen as the driver of the vehicle which had struck his car. It appeared Nielsen had been drinking, but he refused to provide a breath sample. The Denver, Colorado native was arrested on charges of driving under the influence and hit and run. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,250 bond. A resident of the Villages was arrested on drug charges after allegedly buying crack from a dealer in an area known for narcotic sales. An officer observed 60-year-old Joseph Antonio Beniquez of the village of Duval in a red Dodge SUV in the parking lot of Tyler's Family Mart, located at 2201 Griffin Road at 9:30 p.m. Monday, according to an arrest report from the Leesburg Police Department. This was a well-known area for narcotic sales and transactions. A subject on a bicycle later approached Beniquez. The officer saw what looked like a hand-to-hand narcotics transaction taking place between the two. The cyclist left the location and headed south on Tuskegee Street, the report said. The officer subsequently had contact with Beniquez, who was outside of his vehicle at the time. The officer explained his reasoning for speaking with Beniquez, to which he began taking items out of his pocket, stating he was not in possession of any illegal contraband. While doing this, the officer noticed the imprint of a small Ziploc bag in his shirt pocket, consistent with narcotic sales, the report said. The baggie was confirmed to be in a small zip-top bag containing a white cake-like substance. The substance later tested positive for cocaine and weighed about 0.6 grams. Beniquez was also later found to have a glass crack pipe in his shoe, the report said. After being read his rights, Beniquez admitted to making plans with a local drug dealer to buy crack cocaine at the mart. The dealer had him to go to the parking lot, where he sent another person to bring him $30 worth of crack cocaine. Beniquez had done this similar arrangement numerous times in the past. The random people came to deliver the narcotics to him. Beniquez was ultimately arrested and charged with possession of crack cocaine and drug paraphernalia. The
New York
native was transported to Lake County Jail and released after posting a $3,500 bond. I still have the same question. If you know it's a well-known drug house in that area right there, how come we haven't went in and shut this thing down? Why don't we get tough on drugs? I mean really tough, the buyer and the seller. A man who threatened to jump from the Morris Boulevard Bridge prompted its temporary closure Saturday night. The bridge was temporarily shut down at about 7 p.m. when the man, who appeared to be having mental health crisis, began making threats to jump off the bridge, according to Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff's office was able to de-escalate the situation, and the man was Baker Acted. The Baker Act is a law that allows for the temporary involuntary examination and treatment of individuals experiencing a mental health crisis. Specifically, it allows for a person to be held for up to 72 hours in a mental health facility for an evaluation if they are deemed to be a danger to themselves or others, or if they are unable to care for themselves due to their mental illness. Reflective pavement markers were installed Monday on a prominent section of multimodal paths in the Villages. A crew is putting down the RPMs on the multimodal path that stretches from Laurel Manor Recreation Center to Lake Sumter Landing. The RPMs on the part of the golf cart path are being funded by the Community Development District 5, which last month took the bold action to vote to put down reflective pavement markers at a cost of $12,000 when the project-wide advisory committee refused to act. After numerous discussions, Community Development District 12 is apparently poised to take the same action. I find all this funny. Do you favor the installation of the RPMs on the multimodal paths? Leave it in the comments below. Here's what I say. They only need them for at night. Go to the square, 9 o'clock at night, that's when the bands are over, and people are heading home. So they're heading home in their golf cart. They say they can't see the golf cart path, or they can't figure out the right side of the golf cart path. I don't know what the problem is, but here's this. You're an adult. If you don't know, or if you can't see at night after dark, and you know this because of the headlights on the road next to you or whatever the case may be, then maybe you shouldn't be driving your golf cart at night. Take the car, or let somebody else drive the car and then take you to the square. A couple of villages has been ordered to remove protective boulders from their front yard. The home of Robert Bulware and Linda Stainbrook at 2475 Drew Circle in the village of St. John's was the subject of a deed compliance hearing Monday afternoon before Special Magistrate Terry Neal at the district office at Brownwood. The couple bought their home on a corner lot in 2022 for $457,300. To their horror, they soon discovered that the narrow roadway forced some vehicles to run over the corner of their yard, damaging the irrigation system. That happens. This is not just these people. A Mayflower van rolled right over our yard and our sprinkler heads. Stainbrook explained to the special master. Stainbrook said she and her husband chased down the driver. He cussed us out in Spanish. Well, how do you know he cussed you out if it's Spanish? Do you speak Spanish? After trying a variety of solutions aimed at keeping vehicles from encroaching on our yard, they came up with the idea of boulders which weigh 250 pounds apiece. The rocks are as decorative as we can make them and big enough to discourage people from running them over, said Robert Belware, who is married to Stainbrook. A complaint was received by community standards on February 26 about the rocks, which are located in the right-of-way. Stainbrook pointed out that there is no curb on her property, which leaves it more vulnerable to damage from big trucks. She said it is unfair that the homeowners, they are required to mow and irrigate their right-of-way, but have no power to protect their property. You cannot plant or have anything in the right-of-way. We are the district. We can only enforce the deed restrictions, Special Master Neal said. However, she encouraged community centers to work with the couple and try to facilitate their communication with the city of Wildwood, which is responsible for the right-of-way. It is hoped that the city of Wildwood can work out a solution with the couple. Special Master gave the couple 30 days to bring their property into compliance by removing the rocks. When I was a guard, when I first came here, I was a gate guard for a while. And we had classes like every week we had to go to classes. And they always had these classes planned on your day off. So when they say you only work 4 and 4, that really ain't true. But anyway, one of the things that we did at the gate guard was there's a clipboard. And whenever anybody come to our area in a truck, any kind of a truck, a semi-truck, basically like Mayflower, bringing furniture down here for a home that somebody just bought, we give them that clipboard. They'd assign their name, the address that they were going to, and other information. Immediately when he went through the gate, and I let him through the gate, I picked up the phone and I called Community Watch. Community Watch was supposed to go down there and take the same route that truck did to go to that house. And he's checking things like this, making sure that truck didn't cut a corner and run over somebody's sprinklers, causing damage, all that kind of stuff. Also, he went to the house and would verify that these people were there moving furniture in or moving furniture out. And they would check on that periodically with the Community Watch program. They would come by and just check on that periodically. Why? It's happened here where somebody came in a truck that said it was some kind of a moving company of some kind going to a house. The person that's in that house was a snowbird. They weren't here. These people knew it. They backed the truck up to the house and stole everything. It happens. So that's why that system was put into place. Here, I don't know. Down there in your district, I don't know. Did they change the rules? A hit-and-run suspect claimed he fled the scene of a crash because he did not want to be late for his barbershop appointment. Patrol units were dispatched at about 5:15 p.m. Thursday to Save-A-Lot parking lot located at 360 Shopping Center Drive regarding an accident involving the driver of a white pickup truck, later identified as 43-year-old Tom Williams of Summerfield, according to the arrest report of the Wildwood Police Department. The officer advised that the suspect, later identified as Williams, had left the scene on foot prior to the arrival of law enforcement. An "Be on the Lookout" alert was immediately activated to find him. Shortly after the officer told dispatch that he intercepted Williams walking northbound on Main Street near the Family Dollar parking lot located at 316 Main Street, Williams admitted to crashing the vehicle into a pole. He claimed he left the scene because he had a barbershop appointment at the Diamond Cuts Barbershop located at 405 North Main Street, and he did not want to miss it. Williams was detained and taken back to the scene of the accident for further investigation. Another officer met him there, and he stated he did not know leaving the scene of an accident with property damage was a crime. I'm amazed by some of these people and what they say. He reiterated that he did not want to miss his barber's appointment, which was the reason he left the scene of the accident. The officer observed visible damage to the ground base and structure of that Duke Energy light pole. Duke Energy later came on the scene and estimated the damage to be about $1,000. After being arrested, Williams reported no injuries. However, as part of the booking process involving an accident, he was taken to UF Health Emergency Room Clinic at Brownwood for medical clearance. Williams was ultimately charged with hit and run, leaving the scene of an accident which involved property damage, and transported to Sumter County Jail. He was released after posting a $250 bond. A dishwasher at a Spanish Springs restaurant was arrested after a police officer noticed a vehicle parked in the fire lane at a nearby Publix. Oh, you're kidding. They're actually patrolling that now? An officer spotted a tan Volkswagen parked in the fire lane near a sign that stated, "No stopping, standing, or parking." Remember when them used to be on the interstate? In front of the Publix liquor store at La Plaza Grande, according to the arrest report of Lady Lake Police Department. The officer watched as the driver, 37-year-old Jesus Castro Rodriguez of Claremont, exited the liquor store and carried a case of beer to the vehicle. The officer approached Castro Rodriguez, who works as a dishwasher at the I Jalisco, and informed him that the vehicle was improperly parked in a no parking zone. The officer asked Castro Rodriguez for his license, but the native of Mexico admitted he did not have one. The officer attempted to handcuff Castro Rodriguez, but they struggled and both fell to the ground. Castro Rodriguez broke free and ran in the direction of the restaurant where he worked. A second officer arrived on the scene and began to chase Castro Rodriguez, who was tasered and fell to the ground. He was arrested on charges of resisting arrest and driving without a license. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $1,500 bond. An extremely intoxicated man was transported from a bar in the Villages to a hospital and ultimately jailed. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies responded at 12:17 a.m. Saturday to city fire at Lake Sumter Landing, where they found 62-year-old Mark Anthony Rice of San Diego, California. Deputies were concerned about his condition and summoned the village's public safety department. EMS personnel decided to transport Rice to UF Health Spanish Plains Hospital for further treatment, according to the arrest report. As they were loading him onto a gurney, Rice was found to be in possession of a pipe commonly used to smoke marijuana. The pipe had residue which tested positive to THC. He also had a plastic container which held less than 20 grams of marijuana. Upon his discharge from the hospital, Rice was arrested on misdemeanor charges of possession of marijuana and possession of drug equipment. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. Just in his defense, and I'm not sticking up for any of this, but he's from California. California, I believe marijuana is totally legal for anybody. You can just walk in, get it, buy it, whatever. They tax it. I mean, that's all they do. But there's still laws that says you can't use it while driving. That's under the influence, so you can't do that. Here in Florida, actually marijuana is kind of legal, but the way you have to do it is you have to go to your doctor and you get this piece of paper you pay for. I'm not sure it's even legit, really, but for $200, $300, $400 a year for this medical marijuana card. That's how you do it. You can go to local dispensaries here and you can buy marijuana you smoke, marijuana candy, marijuana whatever they got. You can do it that way too. A villager crashed his Tesla in a roundabout and attempted to blame a fictional girl he claimed he had met at Brownwood. The dispatch center at the Sumter County Sheriff's Office received an Apple automated message at 9:46 p.m. Tuesday indicating that a silver Tesla had been involved in a crash in a roundabout on Megason Road in the village of Hawkins. A Wildwood police officer went to investigate the crash and found a witness who described a man who fled the scene on foot after requesting that the witness not call law enforcement. The witness said the man fled into the village of Hawkins. The officer soon found 63-year-old Godfrey Treadwell of the village of Hawkins, who matched the description provided by the witness. When the officer asked about the crash, Treadwell immediately began to blame his girlfriend, claiming she had been behind the wheel. He said he wasn't sure where she had gone. She was driving, but she took off, Treadwell told the officer. He described her as a girl I met in Brownwood. He said her name was Stacy. It appeared Treadwell had been drinking. He had suffered lacerations on both of his legs. The officer took Treadwell back to the crash scene, where they saw that the vehicle's driver's side airbag had deployed and the vehicle had sustained extensive damage to the doors and locking system. It did not appear that the passenger door had been opened. The officer concluded that there had been no front seat passenger. There was also extensive damage to the roundabout, including the one-way signs of the road. Treadwell refused to provide breath samples. Treadwell was transported to a U of Health emergency clinic at Brownwood for an evaluation. Once he was medically cleared, he was arrested on charges of driving under the influence and hit and run. The Michigan native was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,150 bond. Oh, Lord, you can't make some of this stuff up. A 305-home development planned on the west side of US 301 south of the Florida Turnpike may spur installation of a sewer line that also could serve a planned micro-hospital in the same area. Special Magistrate Lindsay C.T. Holt recommended approval of a plat for the 100-acre project at a meeting Tuesday of the Wildwood Planning and Zoning Board. The City Commission may take action on the plat later this month. The site is less than a mile north of Warm Springs Avenue and about 1.3 miles south of the Turnpike. Construction could begin by January. Since the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning were approved in late 2022, the project has been scaled back from 407 homes on 119 acres. Developed by M2RE Partners Wildwood LLC, the neighborhood of single-family homes along private roads would offer amenities including a community garden, grill area and picnic tables, playground, and nature trails. A streetlight design plan will be developed by Seco Energy. Septic tanks and wells on the property will be required to be removed. The land is full of live oak trees, and a tree mitigation program also will be needed. 2 wetlands and a pond are on the property, and a portion is in a floodplain. But the extension may not come for a year or more, and Holt delayed action several months ago on a special use permit for the micro-hospital due to Wildwood's wastewater capacity issues. Due to rapid growth, the city is building a wastewater treatment plant and expanding its current plant. Amenity Authority Committee member Don Deacon will host a special guest at his monthly question and answer meeting to discuss a possible amenity rate freeze. Deacon's Q&A meeting in Community District 4 will be held from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday, May 5 at the Mulberry Grove Recreation Center. Patsy Auburn will be a special guest speaker on the amenity freeze topic, which will be discussed at the AAC's meeting set for 9 a.m. Wednesday. Miss Auburn, a resident of Villages for over 12 years, has dedicated herself to acquiring extensive knowledge about the village's local government, including the Amenity Authority Committee, Board of Directors, and Community Development Districts. Some of the questions they will address include: what is an amenity fee rate cap versus a freeze? How was it done successfully before? How will it work for you now? How does it affect you? What comes next? How can you support this proposal? For more information, call or send a text to Deacon at 352-445-01 81, or you can send an email to drdeacon@aol.com. I'm shocked. People still use AOL? The Amenity Authority Committee has awarded a $16.3 million contract for the construction of a new recreation center on the historic side of the Villages. Finally, them people up there is going to get this thing going. They've been waiting for this for a while. The AAC on Wednesday accepted the bid put forth by King Construction Services Incorporated for the new Paradise Recreation Center. The total cost of the project, which calls for the demolition of the recreation center and a total rebuild, including the swimming pool, is $20 million, which also includes design services and engineering. The rebuild will include a resort-style swimming pool, an expansion of the Mark Twain Library space, a fire pit, and 6 shuffleboard courts. It's going to be a nice one. A son has been ordered to clean up his parents' moldy property in the Villages. The home is owned by a trust in the name of Virold and Evangeline Mokel. He is deceased and his wife is living in an assisted living facility. The complaint was lodged February 27 to community standards about dead, missing sod, gutters falling off the house, a broken lamppost, and mold growing on the rear patio of the home. The couple's son was tracked down in Georgia. He indicated he will be traveling to the Villages to deal with the problematic property, but said he has been experiencing his own health problems according to the testimony presented at the hearing. As an inspection this week, the property remains out of compliance. The special master ordered that the property be brought back into compliance within 30 days. Fines will be imposed if the property is not brought into compliance. Yeah, I'm sure the son doesn't really know what the rules are here and what he can and can't do, and he probably don't know phone numbers or people to call. That's why I wish they would watch my channel more, subscribe to it, because I provide with a lot of phone numbers of contractors that I know are good and safe. They can do anything you want. You need the house washed with all that mold on there, I got a guy you can call. And they'll do the whole house probably. The house will be like $70, and it'll look brand new when they're done. Can they do your sidewalk and stuff? I don't know. I think they probably could, but if not, I know a guy that will. I know a guy that'll do all kinds of stuff. I know a lot of guys. There's no excuse for a house to get this bad. I don't care if it's in a trust. I don't care if you live on the other side of the world. A phone call and a couple of dollars will fix all of this. A speeding golf cart driver was injured in a crash at a postal station in the Villages. The golf cart driver, shortly after 10 a.m. Saturday, was turning into the village of Summerhill Postal Station on Woodridge Drive at a careless speed, causing his golf cart to go onto 2 wheels and ultimately roll, according to the information from Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The golf cart slid on its side before coming into contact with a Mitsubishi automobile that was at the entry and exit point of the postal station. The golf cart driver was transported to UF Health Spanish Plains Hospital for treatment of a minor injury described as road rash. Oh, I know what road rash is. As a bike rider, we all know what road rash is. Slow down, man, when you're making a turn in a corner. We got some new people that moved to my neighborhood. I don't know who they are. They're new people. You ought to watch them when they turn this corner here next to my house. I'm just sitting there watching it, waiting for the day. I'm just waiting for the day. Well, let's see if we have some good news tonight. There's always good news. I just don't post much of it because you can get this good news anywhere else. A popular Chicago-based Portillo's restaurant chain has signed a lease to open a restaurant in the Villages. Portillo's has signed a lease to operate a 4,300 square foot restaurant in Sidrey Buildings in downtown Middleton, the family community which is home to the Villages Charter School campus. An announcement was made by the Villages in Wednesday's edition of the Villages Sun. Portillo's is a Chicago-born chain famous for its hot dogs, hamburgers, and Italian beef sandwiches. In 1963, Dick Portillo invested $1,100 into a small trailer to open the first Portillo's hot dog stand in Villa Park, Illinois, which is called the Dog House. Years later, Portillo's has become a brand synonymous with Chicago. There are now more than 70 Portillo locations in several states. In 2024, Portillo's opened a restaurant in Claremont. Lady Lake Commissioner were pitched a plan for the Portillos in 2023 on 3.51 acres along Highway 27 and 441 southeast of Tire Kingdom. Portillos remains in discussions with the developer for a Lady Lake location. Well, there you go, Portillos, downtown Middleton. St. Timothy's Knights of Columbus raises money for local charities through the Tootsie Roll campaign. I buy me some Tootsie Rolls. I love them. This past Friday and Saturday, they were at Publix in Spanish Plains, joined by Special Olympians Jason and Teresa Ash. The Knights will be in Spanish Springs at Winn-Dixie and Publix. St. Timothy Knights of Columbus charity Tootsie Roll campaign supports Central Florida Special Olympics and ARC Sunrise, which promotes opportunities for people with disabilities. They offer Tootsie Rolls to people in anticipation of financial support of these charities. Local campaigns are at storefronts at Burry's Ace Hardware, Publix supermarkets, Winn-Dixie Groceries, and Walmart. The Knights of Columbus is the longest standing and most committed supporter since the inception of Special Olympics in 1968. Members serve as fundraisers, mentors, unified partners, and volunteers with grand participation during their opening ceremonies statewide. Well, congratulations on you guys and good luck. I hope everything turns out. Hope you have a record amount this year. Okay, how many holes in ones of golf did we get this week? Looks like 3. Village of Delmar resident Mary Jane Clock got a hole-in-one Monday, May 5, at hole number 4 at the Mira Mesa Executive Golf Course. Same hole for the second time in 18 months. I'm thrilled, she said. Clock was golfing with her husband, who snapped a celebratory photo. Well, congratulations on I believe your second hole-in-one there, Mary. Villager John Phelps finally got his first hole-in-one after golfing for 50 years. The Village of Richmond resident scored the lucky ace on May 1 at hole number 5 at 171 yards at the Tarpon Boyle Executive Golf Course. He used a 4 hybrid. Love them hybrids. Well, congratulations on your hole-in-one, John. And you know what they say. Beer's on you, buddy. Ed Friedman of the Village of Amelia got a hole-in-one on Thursday, May 1, on the 138-yard 9th hole on the Volusia Executive Golf Course. It was his first hole-in-one since moving to the Villages in November 2024 and his second lifetime hole-in-one. Well, congratulations on your hole-in-one, Ed. I liked Volusia. It's fairly close to my house. It's fairly hilly. You don't see that much here in the Villages. I enjoyed Volusia. How about everybody's favorites? Letters to the editor. To the editor, how about quit whining about your bird poop problem? We have taken everything from the local wildlife. What was once Oak Flats, open fields, pasture land is now a waiting room for snow buzzards to pass through. I can only hope that you are treated as you want to treat the wildlife that was here before you decided to move into their house. That's sent in by James Livingston, the Village of Finney. Well, I kind of agree with James on that. I really feel for wildlife. I've said this before, and I still do this day. And it just ain't here. If you take what we're doing here nationwide times 1,000,000, you can imagine how many acres of wildlife, even in the desert, they're just building and building and building. I got friends that send me stuff all the time. And when you look at the wildlife that was once there, whether you agree with that wildlife or not, once you start building tons of homes there, that wildlife has to go because they got to find food. And you build a house on top of what once was their land. So I do feel for them. I truly do. I'm not sure what the answer is. I don't, other than the fact that it would take our commissioners, our mayors, and our governors to set land aside. And even with that, that's really not fair either because all this wildlife can't go to these pockets and exist. There's never going to be enough food for them, I don't think, to be able to do that. But bird poop, here's how I see it. If bird pooping on your front lanai or on your lawn chairs, they do it on mine too. If that's your biggest problem around here, life's pretty good. To the editor, what the hell are we still talking about this? The Andersons have openly violated the deed restrictions for many years. If they wanted to truly win, then abide by the restrictions. Then fight the restriction code, and if he can convince the villages to change it, then keep it. But until he can do that, the Little White Cross should simply have come down over 4 years ago. Hate the restrictions if you must, but abide by them when you bought your home here. Simple as that. I was also told he could have put the cross in his side yard or backyard, just not the front. So he had choices, but elected to be king of the hill and keep it where the villagers said no. This is simply to keep his name in the news and feel important. That's sent in by Bill Donato from the village of Tamarind Grove. Well, everything Bill says, whether you agree or don't agree with it, is exactly true. Except I'm not sure about this side yard thing. There's all kinds of rumors that people start, and I don't know how they get started, and people latch on to them. Backyard, I think that might be true, because if they can't see it from the road, they can't complain about it without trespassing on your yard, and they won't do that. And villages people that have to come out and say, yes, there is a complaint, they're not allowed to trespass on your yard either. So if it's in the backyard and you can't see it from the road, then they can't file a complaint on it. Side yard, if there's a road over there, like if you're on a corner yard or corner lot, or if you're on a street where the side yard is visible from the street, I don't think that's true. But I was told, and there again, you have to check all this out, but it made sense to me that they said that in their district, the supervisor said if it's under roof, they can't say anything about it because it's like being inside your house. There's no rules inside your house. They said put it in a flower pot, set it up by the front door if your front door is covered. I think that's true because I see a lot of that and nobody gets complaints about it. So anyway, thanks for the letter. I appreciate it. To the editor, I have lived in the villages for 11 plus years. All I've ever heard was we need a Costco, Trader Joe's, and more shopping such as Walmart. Now I read almost every day complaining folks about traffic problems they are going to cause now that they are building. Just remember, careful what you ask for, you may regret it. Also, I remember a petition being sent around to get Costco in the villages. Your request has been answered. That's sent in by Jerry LeBeau from the village of St. Catherine. So true, Jerry, so true. That's all I heard for the longest time. I reported it on the news. Got to have a Costco. Got to need a Trader Joe's. We need a this. We need a that. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't understand all the shopping at all. I'm not a shopper. But hey, whatever they want. Now they're getting it. And you're right. Now all of a sudden, too much traffic. Need a stoplight. What are we going to do about this? Good Lord. It's you can't win. You just can't win. To the editor, whose decision was it to eliminate villages' clubs from performing at events? This is one of the key attractions of the villages. You can come here and do anything, and we love to see our contemporaries shine and perform. I have not been to one event where the clubs are performing that has been empty. They are well attended and generate a lot of excitement and revenue for the square. Not everyone goes to the square for the music, but it is great. But they will attend a special event, and it costs the villages nothing. These groups train, buy their own equipment and uniforms, and are quite amazing. Wake up. That's sent in by Donna Levine from the village of Richmond. Well, Donna, I don't know what's going on there either. I've had a lot of people send me emails about it, asking me. I'm not involved with any of these things that the villages decides to do or don't do. I just know little things that might help somebody figure things out. All the squares in every village is privately owned by a developer's company. That is not our property here in the villages. But we have signed agreements with the developer that our amenity fees and stuff and maintenance fees, we pay for the upkeep of each one of those squares. Just think about that. He owns all of it, but we have to pay for it. The bands and everything at City Squares is not paid for by any village resident here at all. The bands are paid for by all the businesses in that town. They sign when they rent a building down there, because the developer owns all them buildings, they sign an agreement saying that they'll pay so much a month to help pay for the entertainment at the square. So why we're not allowing the village's people to go down there, I don't know. Could it be a liability thing? That if somebody falls down, an old person falls down and hurts himself, even though it's free entertainment and that's the village's own property, is it a liability thing? I don't know that either. So I don't know who to tell you to ask. If you're a villager, I guess I'd say go to your local meetings, your district meetings, and ask them if they can find out for you, because you got me. Okay, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I appreciate each and every one of you, as always, for watching the news. And if you'd like to support the channel, the easiest way to support the channel is become a Patreon member. And on that Patreon member, you'll get some special things, one of which you'll get a Discord link. I'll send it to you. And you can join our Patreon family, which is most of them are on Discord. Discord is where the action's at. Whenever we have a special group meeting or a special thing we're going to do, we post it on Discord a lot. Some of the things we will post on Patreon, like the members lunch. If you're a Patreon member, you will receive that. We might get together with 5 or 6 neighbors and we're going to have a cookout, for example. We'll get on Discord and say, hey, we're going to have a cookout Friday over here at so-and-so's house. Anybody wants to come, here's the address. We don't post that on Patreon. We put it on Discord. If you're on Discord and you don't participate in it, are you having trouble? I'm asking, are you having trouble with your Discord figuring it out, how to do? It's just a chat. That's all it is. So, get in contact with me. Let me know. Maybe there's something we can do to help out to get you started. Most people that get on Discord, they get on Discord and right away, they're on the chat and we're saying hi to them and all this and that. So I don't know what the difference is there. A difference of a computer to a phone? Maybe. I don't know. People are always asking about Jose's Coffee. How do I get to Jose's website? It's in my description box. It's like jose.coffee, I think is the website, something like that. But anyway, a direct link to his website is in my description box. So with that, I'm just going to say thanks for watching all the news. I dedicate all the news to my Patreon members and my YouTube members, because if it wasn't for them, it would be very costly for me to do some of this. That's why I dedicate to them, and I always will. And they all know, the ones that I've met, the ones that I've seen, the ones that I've actually shook hands with and talked to, they all know I appreciate their membership so much. And all these things at the end of the video you're saying here, it says, Skip, you suck. That's an inside joke. Jose is kind of starting that. I just think it's funny. I love it. So if you want to do a Skip You Suck video, do it on your phone. Make sure the audio is good. Send it to me on my email. I promise you, I will download each and every one of them and I'll put them on that video. I believe I'm going to make a new ending to my videos, and that's going to be it. I just think it's funny. So with that being said, be well, stay safe, take care of yourself, be aware,
and don't leave your key in that golf cart.
This week's news is brought to you by my YouTube and Patreon members.